In this video, my purpose is to sort of give you a little bit of background on my educational experience, my background in Montessori, the different roles that I have fulfilled in a Montessori setting, and then also talk a little bit about sort of the main Montessori tenets that speak to me and my soul, and that I have seen work magic in the classroom and with my own kids and students and clients as well. And then also tell you a little bit about how I run my business, how I interact with clients, and sort of how that whole process runs. So, if that sounds good, we'll just jump right in. So, I am a lifelong educator. I knew when I was a little kid that I wanted to be a teacher. That's all I wanted to be. But I didn't come to Montessori until my daughter was in kindergarten. She is hearing impaired. And so I thought that Montessori would be a really good fit for her as a hearing impaired student with the small class size, individual and small group lessons, hands on materials. All of that really spoke to me as her parent. And I thought it would be a great fit for her. And it was. And as soon as we walked into the classroom, we both were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I was like, why have I not been doing this for 25 years? It's amazing. So that being said, she thrived in that classroom. And I took that year while she was in kindergarten to go to Montessori teacher training at Montessori Education Center of the Rockies in Boulder, Colorado, and got my lower L teaching credential. The following year, I was a self-led intern in my daughter's school in the lower L classroom, and I worked in that school for a number of years after that. During my time at that school, I mentored a Montessori Education Center of the Rockies student teacher through her training that year. And then we also did a lot of collaboration with the primary, the lower L, and the upper L, lots of collaboration and working together throughout the school year. And then we also had a unique experience in hosting a Montessori community group at that school as well. So the school was a public school with a traditional school option and a Montessori option. So the parents who opted into the Montessori program knew that they didn't want their kids in a traditional educational setting. So they put them in Montessori. But a lot of those parents didn't really know a whole lot about Montessori. And so we, as the teachers, spent a lot of time educating parents. So we talked about lesson progressions, materials demonstrations, philosophy, problem solving, assessments, all kinds of things that you encounter in a Montessori program that if you're not Montessori trained, you may or may not know. So that was a really unique experience. I had the opportunity to have both of my kids in my class over the time that I taught at that school, which was great. After my son was in my class in first grade, at the end of that first grade year, we as a family decided that public school was not for him for a variety of reasons. So we decided to homeschool him. So I quit my job at the teaching at the school and homeschooled him from second grade through sixth grade. And that experience was a whole different sort of can of worms. Like I felt like I was very fortunate in that I had been a teacher. I had the curriculum. I had the Montessori training. I had a number of materials. So I had a leg up on some other homeschooling families, perhaps. But I still had to do, all the planning. I had to set up a learning space. I had to buy, make, and barter and scrounge up materials, present the curriculum lessons to him, documentation, assessments, all of that, all while meeting his needs as a neurodiverse learner, keeping his interests in mind, meeting his needs, all of that. And then COVID hit. So that's when I started making Montessori mine. I started it as a blog during COVID to sort of help those parents who were thrust into a Montessori homeschooling situation over Zoom. I thought that would be a really difficult circumstance for them to be in. So I started making Montessori mine, and my first blog posts through that business were all about, how do I do this Montessori homeschool thing? I don't know what I'm doing. So if you want to go back at my website and take a look at those blog posts, those are fun ones to look at, a little blast from the past. So that's how I started my business, Making Montessori Mine. Since then, I started doing student sessions. Some of those were during COVID. I did some remote student sessions over Zoom. I've had clients in the United States. I've had local clients that come here to my home for lessons. I've had international clients that I have had a client in England, family in England that I did lessons with. I also did some teacher coaching for teachers who were thrust into a learning pod situation with homeschooling. And then I also did some classroom teacher coaching through that. I did some parent consultations, student assessments, those kinds of things. And so my business kind of morphed from a blog into more of a hands-on business. And so that's what I'm still doing now with Making Montessori Mine. And I'm also expanding into a group coaching situation. And I'm also learning how to market my business. I'm getting on social media and putting myself out there. So that's sort of how my business has evolved, and my experience has led me to where I am today. In my business, I thrive on communication, open, honest communication. I'm very type A, very organized. So I have all my ducks in my rows. I have all my planning sheets, all of those things. And I feel like in my business, I'm able to use my variety of roles that I have fulfilled. So I've been a Montessori parent. I've been a classroom teacher. I was a homeschool parent. I was a Montessori community group leader. I've been a coach and a mentor and a consultant, and just so many different perspectives that I've had as a Montessorian that I feel like lends itself very well to helping others through whatever situation they're in through my business. So I feel really good about that. I use a lot of common sense in my business. I also try to celebrate. Like, I look for those ways to celebrate what's successful in either a student's practice or a parent's, parenting style, or a classroom teacher or a homeschool situation. I point out and we celebrate those things that are going well, because that's important. And then we look at the things that aren't going so well. We do some problem solving. We dig down into the practical things of what's working and what's not working. And then we work together. We collaborate. I guide them. I provide resources, and we come to a solution. And I really am here to serve my clients. So that's sort of an overview of my business and how I run things and how I interact with clients and customers and students. And then lastly, I wanted to just touch on sort of the Montessori tenets that sort of speak to me and that I hold dear in my heart and in my practice and in my business. So first of all, the multi-age classroom or grouping is one of the things that I love about Montessori. So you have the younger kids and the older kids and the in-between kids. And that could be true in a classroom or a homeschool co-op. You have kids of different ages in the same learning space together, which is incredible. The younger ones are watching the older ones. They see them doing amazing things and I want to do that too. I'm like, well, let's do these 5 lessons and then you can try that. So it's really motivating for the younger students. And then it also gives those older students a sense of pride. They see the younger ones looking up to them. They want to set a good example. They want to show those younger students how to behave, how to organize, how to do a work. So it's really beneficial for all members of that classroom or learning environment to work together on a multi-age stage, shall we say. And then also that lends itself to following the child. You can meet the child exactly where they are. In a multi-age classroom, you're going to have materials that span a wide range of abilities and grade levels and whatever. So you can meet the child exactly where they are. No child is exactly at, second grade level when they're 8 years old. They're going to be advanced in some things. They're going to be a little lower in some subject areas. And that's okay. In a Montessori classroom, you don't have to point that out to them and make them feel bad about being low, or give them the spotlight and make them feel like, oh, I'm so much better than everyone else. You meet them where they are, which is phenomenal. I love that about Montessori. I love that Montessori allows for a variety of learning styles. If you are tactile or visual, or you need to move, or you need help to organize, or whatever your needs are as a student, as a learner, Montessori education can meet you and follow your needs exactly where you are and how you learn. And that is incredible. That empowers children to feel like they have ownership of their own learning, which is incredible. Kids in Montessori are allowed to explore. They are presented a lesson. They're allowed to explore and practice with that material until they're improving their skills. They're mastering those skills. The light bulb goes on and they get creative. They get excited about learning. They ask questions. They make progress. They build their confidence, and they learn and grow. They also learn responsibility, using a work plan or organizing your workspace, or just so many ways that kids can show responsibility and grow responsibility and take ownership of their own learning. Those are the things about Montessori that speak to me. The Montessori philosophy is an amazing way to educate kids. So if you haven't yet done it, let's jump in. So I hope that this has kind of given you a little bit of an insight into who I am and how I work and what's important to me. And I really look forward to working with you in the future. We'll see you soon.